Hi everyone, thanks for having me here, and I know that everyone feels kind of sleepy after lunch, so I'll try not to be very boring. So, the topic was already announced, it's housekeeping the platform at scale. Yeah, a bit words about myself. So I'm not a solution architect, I'm a front-end architect at Marktplatz. So you already can understand that this presentation will be about Marktplatz and a bit of about front-end. But if you're not a front-end, don't worry a lot because yeah, the approach applies to any technology stack. So it's a very generic topic. So first of all, yeah, if you live in Netherlands, you know what Marktplatz it is. Yeah, it's one of the biggest classifieds platform. But this is the number that were given to me by our PR department. So you can understand what kind of scale we have. So whatever we build, we ship it to millions of users in the Netherlands and also hundreds and thousands, maybe even million users in Belgium as well. So at Marktplatz, we have a vision. So this is like a North Star strategy for us. So we want product development teams to focus all their efforts only on building the product and nothing else. So they can fully focus on delivering business value, that what the business likes, and yeah, they don't bother about, you know, some technical frictions, maintenance, support, and other that stuff. So how do we want to make it happen? We basically developed so-called front-end platform, which provides a set of tools, frameworks, libraries towards our front-end engineers. So those engineers in the product development teams, they can basically deliver their features faster, more secure, more efficient, and so on and so forth. So what's the size of our front-end platform at the moment? So it is used by 8 development teams. So this is the teams that are actually developing the features for the end users. So far, we managed to build almost 60 services, 40 libraries, and it all generates about like 15 production releases per day. So this is the scale. You can compare it with what you have at your company and understand if what I will tell later on if it's applicable to you or not. So what's the problem do we have? So at Marktplatz, we actually foster team autonomy. So there is a lot of studies that shows that autonomous teams, they deliver business features and business value much faster. But there is a so-called speed paradox. So the faster the team goes, the more autonomous the team. At certain scale, they will face other kind of challenges. So for example, if you have a lot of autonomous teams and they do whatever they want, at the end you will have a lot of fragmentation in your platform. Yeah, so they can do different technology choices, they can solve the same problem using different tools, and eventually this will slow them down. Yeah, the teams might not collaborate between each other too much because, well, we are autonomous, why we should talk to other teams, we just build whatever we want. And at the end, they will reinvent the wheel. And what it means for the platform as a whole, or for the whole product, it means that eventually you will have a lot of maintenance burden. Imagine you need to support different frameworks like, I don't know, React, Svelte, Angular, and especially when you have security releases and you need to manage them, it's very painful, and eventually the teams, they don't want to pay this price. So they just want to use this nicely looking piece of technology, but they don't really think, okay, what would be the price in the long run? So this is the problem we are trying to solve. And one of the approaches that basically was introduced by Spotify, they call it a golden path. So golden path is basically an opinionated and supported path to build something. So if we apply to our case, we came up with what we called Frontend Golden path. So it's basically consists of several things. First of all, we align between the teams on what kind of stack we want to use to build our front ends. So we gather all the important technologies that we have and we say, okay, this is the thing that we want to use. It also includes all kind of information support. So imagine like best practices, different decisions that we made, like tech radar as well. So all of that will help teams to use the stack in an efficient way. And the last but not the least, it's the governance. So basically the question, okay, who's going to be responsible for what? And at Marktplatz, all the front-enders, we gather together, so-called Frontend Chapter, and we together define, okay, what do we want to have in our front-end stack in the upcoming, I know, 6 months, once a year. And later on, we have a special dedicated platform team, which is basically responsible to build it and to ship it to other teams. And what's actually important about the Golden Pass, it's not restrictive. Yeah, so it is a recommended way to build stuff, but teams can still deviate. Yeah, so if certain team says, well, we are not really happy with this solution, we can build our own, okay, you can go, but you will pay the price. You will need to maintain whatever you build yourself. And quite often when a team understands what's going to be the price, they say, okay, no, we will just go with the solution that is supported out of the box. So yeah, so this is specific for the front-end part. So we define that these three pillars are part of our Golden Pass stack. So for example, for the client side, we have our React setup. We have a design system, which is a set of reusable components. We have a translation layer. For the server side, we have a set of like Express middlewares and Express server. We have our own implementation of server-side rendering for React. We have a set of API clients, and we have extensive observability tools. And for the build and deploy, we also have like a Webpack config that we use in all our front-end services. We use the same, or trying to use the same TypeScript config. The same goes for ESLint and Prettier. We use Jest as our testing framework, and we also maintain our node.js Docker image that we use on production. So basically, ideal situation that the team uses the whole Golden Pass stack, yeah, to build the front end. But of course, sometimes they can choose, okay, we will use the server side, but maybe the client side we don't need at all. For example, we have some services that output only JSON, so the only thing they need is basically the server side and the build step. The client side they don't care about. So once we identify these reusable parts, we want to sell it to the teams. Yeah, we want to basically give some benefit to the team if they use this Golden Pass. So what we promise to teams, we promise to keep them up to date for free. Yeah, so if they start using what we provide, they don't need to worry about maintenance at all. We will help them if they have issues. We will make sure that all the security issues are fixed in timely manner, and so on and so forth. So for that, we actually came up with an approach that works for us, and this is what I would like to share with you. So first of all, what we built, we need to understand. As I mentioned, we have 60 services, 40 libraries. So first of all, we need to understand what's the current status. Yeah, we want to have an inventory of everything that runs on production, to understand like who is lagging behind, who is using what. So that's why we built a dashboard. Fortunately, it's quite small on this screen, but I will explain. So basically, it gives you an overview. So on this screen, you can see like one specific service which is called Ad Manager Web BFF. You can see like who is the owner, which team owns it, like how much TypeScript adoption, which stack it uses, how long time ago it was deployed, how many commits they are behind, and maybe the most important stuff is on the right. It shows you dependencies that this project is using on production, and if they are outdated or not. So everything that starts with ECG Marktplatz, this is our internal packages. So you already see that this project actually doesn't do very good because it still uses some deprecated packages on production, which is not nice. So by having this overview, you already encourage teams to think, okay, how we are compatible with the Golden Pass stack. So we give them hints what they can improve, and we also use it in the platform team a lot to automate stuff, and I will cover that later. So this is the information that you can get for services. We have similar information that you can get for the libraries as well. Well, libraries are not released to production, so they have a slightly different information, but the most important, you can also see, okay, what are the dependencies of this library, and if they're outdated or not, or even use some deprecated stuff like this library does. And you can also look from another perspective. So let's say you release the new version of Express React library, which is our internal library, and you want to know, okay, who's using this library? Are they using the latest version of it or not? So this is another view which you can check and see, okay, these services are not using the latest version. Yeah, and you can see that, for example, the green checkbox next to that, what does it mean? It means that it has it on master but not deployed. So probably the team already merged it, or it was auto-merged, but for some reason deploy didn't happen, so they need to look into that, or we need to look into that as well. And by we, I mean the platform team. And yeah, so we have this dashboard, so now we need to act on it. And of course, having so many projects, like 100 in total, it's useless. You don't want to do it manually, so that's why we use several tools for that. So the most important one, I would say, it's a Renovate bot. There are a lot of alternatives. For example, in GitHub you have Dependa bot, which is doing quite similar stuff. So basically it just keeps your dependencies up to date. And Renovate is very flexible. You can configure a lot of rules there, like what to update, how to update. So this is the rules that we tried in our company, and it works for us. So we have 24/7 updates for internal packages. So whenever you release a new version of the internal library, it will be immediately propagated, immediately starting the propagation, because it takes some time to propagate across all the services and libraries. We also have a bi-weekly updates for trusted third-party packages. So trusted mean that we believe that their maintainers are doing their best to basically follow the same word. So for example, we trust React. They're doing, but not all the libraries, external libraries, are very good at that. So updating them automatically might not be the best idea. What really helps is the auto-merge feature of the Renovate. So basically, we say if it's a minor patch update, if it doesn't ship some breaking changes, and if the build of the service is green, if you trust your test, then you can just merge it. You don't need any confirmation from the developer. You can just merge it and ship it to production. At the beginning, it sounded very risky, but we already running it like this for, I would say, half a year. So far, so good. I'll knock the wood. So far, so good. We had only one issue, but it was fixed quite soon. So yeah, and of course the major updates, they need some manual intervention, because usually major updates, they introduce breaking change. So anyway, your build will be red, so some tests will fail. And as I mentioned before, we have this dashboard that has an overview of all the pending PRs. So as a developer in the product team, you can actually see, okay, are there any PRs from Innovate that still need my attention because tests were failing, or it's a major release of something. And yeah, I said that we try to propagate all the changes immediately, but in fact it takes 6 hours. Well, this is the limitation of our infrastructure, because, well, imagine you need to run 100 Jenkins job in parallel, and it takes like 10-20 minutes for each job to finish. So from our experience, you can expect that if you release a new library today, tomorrow all the services will be using this version. So 6 hours, it's the average time. Sometimes it's faster, but we aim to basically reduce this time. So you need to also think about security. Yeah, so security is, especially security updates, they're usually out of your control. You cannot predict when a vulnerability will be discovered, or when the author of the library will release a version that fixes. So that's why we use another tool for that. It's called Sneak. It basically also knows all dependencies from all the projects. And once there is a new version that fixes a security, specifically security vulnerability, it will also trigger a pull request. So those pull requests, they have to be reviewed, because sometimes you see this a lot, that Together with fixing some security vulnerability, the author also introduced some breaking change. So that's why you want to review them. And next to that, whenever you add a new dependency to your project, you create a PR with this new feature. We also have a sneak check that actually verifies that this new dependency doesn't have any known vulnerabilities. So that prevents us from introducing new security issues. The next thing is about code changes. And well, obviously not everything you can solve by just updating dependencies, because quite often you need to change the way how, I don't know, library is configured or used. Doing that manually, yeah, also doesn't fly. We tried a different approach. We tried, for example, creating a reference implementation, writing a very extensive how-to guides for all the teams saying, okay, there is a new version of React, now you should do this in a different way. But in real life, they don't follow. Yeah, they have their own KPIs, OKRs, or GSMs, whatever your company is using, so that they're focusing on writing new code. They're not really interested in, you know, changing something in the code that already runs. So eventually we end up with solution. Basically, why ask other teams to do some code changes if we can automate that? So if you can write a how-to guide to change something, you can automate the same. So we have basically an infrastructure that can do a lot of stuff automatically. So you can install, update, or remove dependencies. You can apply JS code shift code mods. So this is the library created by Facebook. You can write a code that rewrite your code, which is great. On top of that, we run it's another library called put out. It has a common code transformations to fix some code smells. For example, if after refactoring you have an unused variable, the put out can remove it for you, or you have an import that is not used, it can remove it. So it optimizes the code. Then, of course, yeah, you run prettier on top of that to make sure that this code that is automatically generated still looks like written by human. You run the test, you update the JS snapshots if necessary, and of course at the end it creates a pull request that can also optionally be auto-merged. So as an example, what you can do with that, so we recently deprecated one of the packages, and before that, before having these bulk code changes, what you usually do, you just either go manually to like 60 services, running npm uninstall, and then also removing all the imports across multiple files, maybe removing test mocks for this library. So quite, I would say, tedious job, and also very boring. Yeah, you don't want a senior developers doing that. Instead, it's very fun to write a code mod. Yeah, it's you basically, they have a very nice IDE where you in real time see, you write the code and you immediately see what would be the output. So instead of doing it manually, and I would say it would take us like almost 1 week to apply this change, we write a code mod that changed all our services like within 1 hour. So that's an example of what you can do, but you can do a lot of other fancy stuff. So basically the JS code shift is really powerful. It exposes to you the IST, so the tree of your JavaScript code, and you can query it like you're using jQuery and remove nodes, add nodes, remove code, add code. So I will not give you any examples of the code itself, but I really encourage you to look how powerful it is. So if you own or manage more than 10 different projects, I would say it already makes sense to invest some time to automate common tasks. In our case, we have 100, so definitely worth in time investing. And as I mentioned before, yeah, we are trying to automate a lot of things, but you still need to onboard people. Yeah, you still need to explain like why certain changes need to be applied, or what will happen next. So for that, we actually have a way to align between the teams. So first of all, we create so-called architectural decision records, or ADRs. So there we put the most important decisions that we made that basically affect everyone. So imagine we decided to adopt the TypeScript. So we write an ADR that says, okay, we want to use the TypeScript, what kind of features of TypeScript we want to use. If there are any specific approaches that we don't like to use, we also mention it there. For example, we said, okay, we prefer types over interfaces. I know you can discuss if it's a bad or good decision, but it was our decision, so we decided to document it so there is less friction later on, especially when people are joining the company. Then we have a tech radar, which is another important piece of documentation. So here we define a set of tools that we either don't want to use. To be honest, I find this the most important because we put Angular there, saves a lot of time. Also the tools that we want to use, basically those are all the tools that we use in our Golden Pass stack, but also everything that in between. So we say there is some libraries that we are not using at the moment, but we feel like they're a good match for us, so feel free and experiment with them. And this is basically the way how we encourage innovation. Yeah, so basically every new technology should go through all these steps. So first being assessed on on a personal level, then we give a trial on the team level, and if this solution works nicely, then we actually adopt it on a platform level. And again, people like to talk. Especially when everyone works remote. So we also have a Slack channel. This is our way to give ad hoc help to our developers if they are stuck, if they have some problems. Also, the platform team is actively involved in PR reviews, especially if it's the first time you use some piece of technology that we provide. You can ask us to review your PR, so we will tell you if you are using it according to best practices, what can be improved, and so on and so forth. So what will be my key takeaways for you? So these are the 3 steps that you can follow to basically improve the speed of development in your company. So first of all, align the most important things across your teams, and that can be very challenging, especially if you have a lot of different teams. They already have very different technology stack, so you might end up having not one golden pass, but maybe several golden passes, so it's up to you. We were lucky we end up with one, but different companies can have different approaches to that. Then once you're aligned, you have an opportunity to automate. Yeah, so you know what are the common things. So those common things you can definitely automate, like dependency updates, security fixes, code changes. So whatever improvement you ship, you definitely want to automate, and this will at the end accelerate all other teams. So I talk to front-end developers in the platform teams, and they're really happy that they don't need to think about maintenance anymore. So as soon as they're using the services that we provide, they can really focus on building new stuff, and this makes them happy. That makes them, more committed and more engaged in what they're building. So thank you very much. Yeah, I think this is the most important slide of the presentation.